And we did not send down upon his people after him any soldiers from the heaven, nor would we have done so. It was not but one shout, and immediately they were extinguished. Meaning after his passing away, when they killed him, the nation was destroyed. With one shout was enough to completely destroy the disbelieving people. How regretful for the servants, there did not come to them any messenger, except that they used to ridicule him. Have they not considered how many generations we destroyed before them, that they to them will not return? Meaning, look at all the generations before. You want evidence of the power of Allah? They're never going to come back. So you should think too, I'm not going to have another chance. Let me listen to the message now while I have the chance. And indeed, all of them will yet be brought present before us. وَآيَةٌ لَهُمُ الْأَرْضُ الْمَيْتَةُ أَحْيَيْنَاهَا وَأَخْرَجْنَا مِنْهَا حَبًّا فَمِنْهُ يَأْكُلُونَ. And a sign for them is the dead earth. We have brought it to life, and brought forth from it grain, and from it they eat. What is the sign in this? The sign that as the earth is brought to life, and the grain and the plants come, the same way Allah will resurrect people from the same earth. And we placed therein gardens of palm trees and grapevines, and caused to burst forth therefrom some springs, that they might eat of his fruit. And their hands have not produced it, so will they not be grateful? Exalted is he who created all pears from what the earth grows, and from themselves, and from that which they do not know. Here Allah tells us that all pairs have been created by Allah, whether it's in the plants, whether it's humans, male and female, and things that you don't know, meaning your knowledge is limited, still yet that you have not discovered. And you may never know those things, but Allah has created them. So the night and day, you can see they're a pair as well. So what is that indicating? That dunya has a pair too. What is the opposite of dunya? Akhirah, the hereafter. And a sign for them is the night. We remove from it the light of day, so they are left in darkness. And the sun runs on course toward its stopping point. That is the determination of the exalted in might, the knowing. And the moon, we have determined for it phases until it returns like the old date stalk. Have you ever seen dates on a stalk? Ramadan is coming, so I'm sure you'll see lots of that. So when there's dates on a stalk, once the stalk dries up, what happens to it? It bends, it curves. Just like the new moon. So that is how Allah is describing the new moon. The sun remains the same, yet Allah tells us the moon goes through phases. It is not allowable for the sun to reach the moon, nor does the night overtake the day. وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. But each in an orbit is swimming. Allah tells us about the night and the day and describes in some detail the difference that the night and day, they follow one another, neither overtakes the other. And each in its own orbit is swimming. So the night and day have their own orbit. And they are moving constantly within their own orbit. Just like all the planets in the universe are also orbiting and moving within their own specific space. And then we have galaxies. The movement is all according to what? Is it random? It's according to the command of Allah. He has commanded all of the things in the universe and the galaxies to move in a certain way within a certain space, and they are following His command. كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. From the huge galaxy to the atom. What's in the atom? The electron, neutron, and proton, and also they're moving as well. Constant movement. Even the tiniest thing, the atom, to the hugest thing, such as the galaxy. There's a constant movement. And when you're taught these kind of things in science, how do they teach it? This is the atom, the proton, electron, and then there's a neutron, and everything's moving. Everything comes from the atom, and then because they split the atom, all of this energy, etc., etc. And then if you learn about astronomy, you learn about the universe, the planets, Venus, Mars, etc., etc. And then you learn about the galaxies. What is it usually that we're taught within science? What is it that we're usually taught? Any science teachers here? I have some friends who are teachers, and they say that in the class we have to just say, it just happens to be that way. Just like that. That's just the way science is. That's just the way things are made. And they say it's very hard for us to, even in the classroom, mention something about the fact that this is all according to an order, the command of Allah. And this is what Allah is teaching us here, that look at all of this creation, all moving according to the command of Allah. And there's a lesson for us in this too, that if all the rest of this creation is kullun fi falakin yasbahun, constantly orbiting and moving according to the way that Allah has commanded them, then what does it mean for man? What lesson can we take for ourselves? To follow Allah's command, we're also in a constant state of movement as well. Have you ever seen those video clips where they fast forward a person's actions? So the person's getting out of bed, getting ready for work, and it's all fast forward, so you don't have to sit and watch the slow movement. And there's fast movement, and then they go to work, then they come home and continue all the rest of their activities, and then they fall asleep. And then fast forward, they're moving around in their bed, sleeping, and then wake up again the next day. So man is also constantly in movement as well. But the question that we should ask ourselves for is, what is the purpose behind our movement? Is our movement, just as everything is in its own orbit according to the decree of Allah, is it also for Allah? Is that what motivates us as well? Kullun fi falakin yasbahun. The rest of creation is doing what they're supposed to do. But we should also be thinking. There's an ayah in the Quran in which Allah says, قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Say, my prayers, my sacrifice, my life and death are for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. So we should also be thinking, what's the purpose of my life? What is it that motivates me? What is my constant, the center of focus for me?